Yo, what's good, gamers? If you don't already know, Valve has basically cooked movement and also kind of brought it back all within the span of 24 hours. I have this thing called a job now, so I'm a little bit late to this party, but I'm going to explain everything that happened and also the two patches from yesterday. Alright, so to start off, basically they did an update to all the animations, if you can't tell by the way that I'm pulling my P2000 out and reloading it, and also pulling out my M9. My hand looks pretty dang funky. And the instant inspect looks pretty weird too. But anyways, this was Valve's attempt at doing new animations with their system Anim Graph 2, which I think will be a massive win in the long run, but at the moment it's pretty janky and weird, and there's a lot of bugs tied to it, but that's just how things are nowadays. But I do believe this is a massive W, but we'll get back to that. Alright, so within the update that they did, they basically made it so that your inputs are limited by the server. So this is basically, I'll explain in Fortnite terms, they made turbo build slower like they did that one time, and then everybody freaked out. So that's kind of where we are right now. Depending on how many inputs that you're putting into the server, sometimes it will just get ignored. So if you put in, say, like a long jump bind with mouse movement and you're hitting keys and your crouch, whatever, sometimes one of those inputs would be ignored. So when it comes to b-hopping and you're using your mouse wheel, sometimes the server will just completely ignore your mouse wheel and you won't get a b-hop, which is just a big bummer, and I think it's a terrible way to go, but I understand why they try taking this approach. By limiting the amount of things that can be sent to the server at one time, it does create kind of a sense of consistency within the server. So this is kind of my thought process as to why they tried making this change, although it's not that good. But I think it's a band-aid to a problem that needs better fixing, because you can't just limit the amount of inputs people do in a super competitive tac shooter game. So yeah, with this update, they kind of snuck in this cheeky little command that is on by default called sv_subtick_movement_view_angles true, and now this is on for everybody in servers, and this cheeky little command here makes things a little bit interesting. I'm not going to bore you guys with the nitty-gritty details of everything, but I'm just going to tell you that basically this command changes the way that you gain speed by strafing in the air. So before, the long jump or air strafing that you're used to is now changed, and you can actually gain more momentum for unknown reasons with this command. If you set this command to false, it basically returns to the way it was pre-update. So yeah, so Valve basically just silently updated strafing, didn't tell anybody, and yeah, that's kind of where we are. And by the way, this command is on by default and can't be turned off in a server, so this is just how things are for now, I guess. So I think the natural question for most people is, well, what's next and what do we do? The only thing that we can do is kind of just sit and wait and hope for the best with Valve. I do believe that this wasn't their intention to just completely nuke movement like this. I think that they just tried finding a solution for something, and in collateral this has happened. One thing to note is that when they said they were porting all the animations over, that they weren't doing it overnight and it's going to take some time. So we're kind of in this limbo state of being in a beta again, although this game really has never left the beta. They said it's fully released, but they continue to make experimental changes to this game, so I still consider this game in a beta. So this is just an experimental change, and it's going to be polished out and smoothed over, and once I know if there's a working config or how to fix movement, or maybe Valve just does something on their end that fixes everything, which is honestly the optimal and case that I think everybody wants at this point, I will let you guys know. But overall, I actually am, this is an unpopular opinion, but I actually really like the animations. I think the animations in this game were quite dated, and I understand that it's an arcade shooter and it's like a part of its identity, but overall, for like gameplay purposes, animations are like the #1 thing that gives the game its feel and impact, and I think that these changes are a really good step in the right direction. Like, you have to think for editing and for just like general gameplay and for spectating, having more polished animations is just like, it's nice and I like it. And I understand that a lot of people are like, well, Counterstrike is like very iconic, blah blah blah. I don't care, it looks good. I think it's a step in the right direction, and like I said, we're in a limbo state right now with this update where things are just broken. If you want some proof, I'll show you right now. I'm going to put my gloves on CT side, and I'm going to go on CT side. Look at my gloves. Look at the right glove. That is just absolutely cooked. So things are just bugging. So just give it some time, guys. Valve, they know what they're doing. I know a lot of people have very low faith, but these guys are psychological geniuses, you know? They get us down bad and then they drop a banger content update. So just give it a little bit of time. We're in a limbo state, like I said, and movement will be back. But for now, because of the server limit, we're kind of cooked. But the only upside is that if you're really good at long jumping, there's some new long jumps that just weren't doable before that are doable now. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here. Enjoy your day. Try and enjoy Counter-Strike in whatever way you can. If not, let me know what you guys are playing, because I won't be playing this until it's fully fixed.